Thanks for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoy it. Near the end of the 19th century, philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche proclaimed the death of God. He took note that the modern Western age moved truth and reality, regulating it to the domain of nature. He saw it as a problem. Some time has passed. Reason. Atheism. If there is no intentionality in beginning, in the beginning, and no observing standard at the end, then any suggested or adopted meaning in the middle is technically illusory. Any arguments of defense or criticisms directed at differing worldviews outside of naturalism would be illogical, unreasonable, inconsistent, hypocritical, self-incriminating, and blind. Technically speaking, faith in the reality of meaning without ultimate objective intention, observance, and standard is equally, if not more, if not infinitely more absurd than those who ground their faith in an intentional, observing standard. Evidence. Atheism. If God existed, what would you require as sufficient proof and evidence? Anything short of incarnation and resurrection would be far less credible and substantial, technically speaking. Suggesting for God to move an observable physical object or make something appear that wasn't there before or communicate by writing something in the sky or to appear for a moment would be discredited quite easily for any number of reasons. If God became not just a force, a voice, a message, but a human so that he could be observed, related to, interacted, and reasoned with on a human-to-human level, that would be far more substantial than simply a human-to-random nature object experience. If he became human and entered our experience as a historical figure to live with us for decades, so that there is record at the most fundamental level of what we accept as credible documentation, that would be far more credible than some isolated or momentary occurrence. Suggesting that it's not credible unless God enters history today as opposed to any time in the past may just be narcissistic. It also dispenses with history as such, along with your own existence, since you yourself will one day be left behind in history. God, as a historical figure, then would have to do something that would give credibility to his claim of divinity. Resurrection seems to fit this requirement. Not only is death on the list of most constant realities, it is on the list of being most detrimental. Resurrection, then, would be on the list of most difficult and meaningful things to achieve. Jesus. In a message entitled, "Who is Jesus?" theologian Timothy Keller shared with a New York City audience that there are two unlikely categories that merge in the person of Jesus. The first category is made up of people who claimed to be divine. He argues that these are typically labeled as lunatics or liars. They aren't taken seriously, and their little to no influence dies with them. Jesus is in this first category. The Jews killed him for this precise reason. They understood quite clearly his claims of divinity. The second category is made up of those who are most influential. Jesus is arguably on the list of top 10 most influential people in all of history. He arguably is in the top 5. He may just be in the top 3. In fact, Jesus is arguably the most influential person in all of history. All people on the list of persons who claim divinity are discredited by their lack of influence and personal character. All people on the list of most influential persons are always modest and humble, pointing to something beyond themselves as the way, the truth, and the life. There is one person in both categories. One who claimed to be God and who is one of the most influential people ever. Evil. The scope and extent of Jesus' influence in art, charity, morality, etc., being tripped up by evil done in the name of God, is nothing to trip over at all. The inconsistency of believers is already taken into account by the religious explanation. Atheists do good, are good. Believers in God do evil, are evil. Religion states that the human being is designed, patterned after the likeness of God. This is the ultimate good. The storyline unfolds to articulate that the human became corrupt, polluted, the ultimate evil. Evil perhaps primarily because of the human's unique and intricate relation, just by being human, to God. The human being is corrupted to the degree that he can take anything, even God, and twist it to his own will and reason. It's in the Ten Commandments. Don't put God's stamp on something that is unlike God. These are the very reasons why God is needed, labeled as the Savior in the first place. The tension of belief in God and continued corruption of sin, or the denial of God and the pursuit and ability to do good, is built into the construct of explanation. Israel, for example, the name of God's chosen people, means those who wrestle with God. Anything good, right, and beautiful that isn't subject to an objective, eternal good, right, and beautiful is just pretend. Science. The gap between nothingness and nature is significantly, if not infinitely, greater than the gap between nature and technology. This is precisely the intelligent design creationists' argument when they suggest that technology doesn't just pop into being uncaused or out of unintended explosions. There's the added element that the science and learning about the universe is exactly the driving force and information used to advance technology. If nature, life, animals, human beings aren't seen or understood as engineering at its finest, then you know nothing of science, nothing of nature. Philosophy. We are limited in knowledge and understanding. Infinitude is always beckoning. These diametrically opposed realities are constantly used to justify and to critique. Atheism uses what is known and useful about nature and science to denounce the need of God. At the same time, it uses the infinite to both criticize God as an explanation because it seems far too simplistic, a buzzkill in light of the infinite unknown, along with the need to continue to explore. The religious argue in similar fashion. They cling to tradition, and there is plenty we don't understand, but that's because God is far beyond us. But the teaching oftentimes becomes too dogmatic. The fear and ignorance to what is foreign and new makes us revert back to the simplistic religious mantras. To the atheist, agnostic, skeptic, and religious alike, the reality of the known and unknown poses a problem for all. The question is, what is the basis for? Where is the meaning found in what is known and the pursuit of the unknown? If there is no intention in the beginning and no observing standard at the end, one who is personal, infinite, then all is illusory. Atheism. If someday you are asked by God why you didn't believe in him, by your own standards, you won't be able to say there wasn't enough sophisticated technology, there wasn't enough sophisticated technological evidence in nature, that God didn't reveal and show himself. He didn't communicate. He didn't prove himself. Quite the contrary. God has answered naturalism rather satisfactorily. Atheism is hanging on. It's not dead yet. But science, reason, logic, truth aren't the ones keeping it alive. Must be something else. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. I really appreciate it. I will leave a link to Tim Keller's message on Who is Jesus below. Feel free to check that out.